Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
We are the weirdos, mister.
Black as night, erase death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate make it right. I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea, because it's time for the Cousins Coven podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome back to the Coven. Hope everyone's doing well. Sharon, I came across this news article that I wanted to talk about.
Ooh, what is it?
It's kind of silly, and it's about Bigfoot.
Yes.
So, believe it or not, my husband, the guy who really doesn't believe in much, he's like, hey, look at this news article. And it was basically these people found footprints in the snow that looked ginormous, that they believe are big footprints.
Yes.
And so I was looking at them and I was just like, are we And it is, I just looked at him and I was like, look, I love Bigfoot, but I also know how snow works. Like when you step in snow, depending on the type of snow that it is, it could make your foot look like it's ginormous.
Yeah.
So I was like, that could have been just some regular dude walking through the forest.
Was it barefoot, like toes?
Yes.
That's weird.
It looked like it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was. But you know how it is in Oregon, because it did happen somewhere in Oregon, I think. I read that. And so, we're fucking crazy here. We'll run out in the snow with no shoes on. I know that's a leap, but
I love that you're even being like a little bit skeptical, because it just shows some good sense on you. Like we're not always going to buy into everything. So it's pretty cool.
I mean, I totally want it to be real, though.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy that you mentioned this, because I was watching some old In Search Of, that show we both love with Leonard Nimoy. Yeah. He hosts a show, and every episode he'll do different things. And I was watching the Bigfoot episode, and I think this aired originally like maybe the 70s or the 80s.
Okay.
And they're talking about like how they will cast these Bigfoot feet, and one thing you really need to look for is like this muscle, I think it's like right under the big toe that kind of like protrudes out, that's like is really important to say that it's real, because a big creature like that would need that little extra muscle right there to help stand up and balance himself. And so that's how they were like able to say that they were legit footprints.
Oh.
So I'm kind of wondering if your snow prints had a little extra bulge.
I don't know.
Under the toe.
You can do a little Google search for it, because it does show, if you do Google search, like, Bigfoot snow prints, something will show up.
I wonder. Okay, let me look.
Yeah.
So, there's a couple that come up. I'm not sure which ones are the accurate ones.
I think it was even on Mysterious Universe, so maybe I'll pull up the article. Like, that's not where we found it at, but... So, a retired couple... Oh, I guess it was in Washington. So, a retired couple from Medical Lake, Washington, who were out taking pictures of nature, came upon mysterious footprints in the snow. Local resident Steve Meechan and his wife attempted to follow the large footprints, but the snow was too deep and they had to turn back, which we did get a lot of snow. I mean, the Northwest was really slammed with snow. Meechan posted a picture of the large tracks on a Medical Lake community information page on Facebook, insinuating that the footprints could have only been made from a Bigfoot since they were so huge, measuring at 24 inches long, 23 inches deep, and with a 3-foot stride.
Wow.
Well, some people have, right? Isn't that huge?
I'm looking at these prints. There's even like video, I guess, here, but just like the interview.
Oh.
I don't know. It's kind of a weird angle. You can't see underneath the big toe. But those are really deep footprints, and they're so perfect.
They are.
What if that's like, I don't know how you would fake that without like hiding your own tracks.
Yeah, maybe.
But how?
Maybe you're right.
Maybe they're wearing some sort of weird shoe.
It could be.
It's just so perfect.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if a Bigfoot was really to do that, he'd probably drag his foot a little bit in the snow. Like, why are they like little perfect stamps? I don't know. I want someone who actually tracks people to break it down, because they would know what to look
right?
for.
Right? So I just know that at that time that this came out, we had 2 types of snow that came through. We had one that was just sort of like straight up ice that was great for making snowballs. So like if you just picked up the snow, it was like you formed a snowball in your hand, and that thing's going to hurt when you hit it on someone.
Yeah.
But the other one was just straight up powder. So if you picked it up, it just fell through. And so if it was at the time that there was a bunch of powder snow, then I could see where if somebody was wearing, you know, like shower shoes, which is a far stretch. Why would you wear shower shoes out there?
Or even snowshoes.
Right. Or even snowshoes. I mean, I could see if it were the powder snow where something else could do it. Or if it were a moose or
Yeah, someone's
a
trying
bear.
to say it's moose tracks. Let me look up moose tracks because that's so weird. That just got up ice cream. I was like, oh,
moose
that
tracks,
looks delicious.
You're like, I'm sorry, we're going to have to stop the podcast now because I really need ice cream.
Yeah, like every picture is just ice cream. Okay, no, that's not moose tracks. Moose tracks are just like weird little half circles almost.
Yeah, because don't they just have hooves?
Yeah, so that's not, that's a legit foot looking print.
Yeah.
I like it, whatever it is. I'm interested to see if they can debunk it and or if they end up like legitimizing it.
It just totally makes me like once again say, when are we going to meet up and do some Bigfoot tracking?
Yeah, we got to learn how to become trackers.
Yeah, like totally. Not just like a fangirl like out there like, I love you, Bigfoot.
Oh, I know. That's what all I am right now. I have no wilderness skills or credentials.
I can do a few things, but I started learning how to camp when I was like 5 or 6. And so I've been camping for a lot of years, but nothing like, but it's not like I go out all the time and do it anymore. You know, as I've gotten older, I just don't do as much. Now I'm more of a glamper.
Oh yeah. I glamp. I don't own any equipment. I'm like, I would like to start buying maybe a tent and little things here and there, but yeah, I don't know. I still...
You know, when I was growing up, for 2 weeks at a time, sometimes we would go backpacking into the woods.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and just be gone for like 2 weeks at a time, just living on what we brought with us. And I remember one night, this was probably when I was 8, maybe, we traveled quite a ways. Like we hiked up really steep inclines. This was out at a place called Marion Lake, which used to be really beautiful. I don't think it's as beautiful now. But we hiked and hiked and hiked probably for like 4 hours, went deep into the woods. And that night I had left my backpack with apples in it, just laying on the ground. And we had bears come into the camp and ransack the whole camp.
Wow.
Site. Yeah.
That's really scary.
Yeah. Like I woke up and I came out and my backpack was like up in a tree.
Uh-huh.
And had been ripped. Part of it had been ripped.
So they put it in the tree or you guys did that thing you're supposed to rope it up? And you...
No.
Oh, okay.
They put it in the tree.
See, I thought that's what you're supposed to do to keep them away from it, was put it on some sort of pulley system.
Yeah, it was just weird. I was like, why... How did my backpack get up there? So it had been opened. The apples had been taken out. And then my backpack was thrown up into the tree.
Yeah. Bears are brutal, man.
Yes. And I do remember seeing one when we were out there. Like, my parents were like the kind of parents who were like, okay, we don't care what age you are. You're still self-sufficient. You can go to the bathroom on your own, so you can do whatever you want. So even at 8 years old, they were like, here's a roll of toilet paper. If you have to go to the bathroom, just go out there. And if you see bears, just stay still. And I'm like, you're freaking me out, man. I'm like 8 years old.
Hell yeah.
So I remember going out there and actually seeing a bear while I was going to the bathroom.
Oh
and
my
I just
God.
sat there very still, not breathing. Like I saw it walk by probably about 10, 12 feet away from me. And it was just like walking by. Here I am just terrified in this little body, like shaking, like, ah.
Dude, that is really scary.
Yeah.
I have never seen a bear out in the wilderness.
They're pretty scary. Okay.
Well, should we move on to cauldron topics?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so we're going to take a little break on our elemental series just because we wanted to have fun and kind of theme out this episode. And so today I want to talk about some good luck magic. And if you got our newsletter, you saw a little preview of that type of magic. We did talked about clover magic, and there's a good luck spell in our March newsletter as well. But here is some of the research that I found when re-looking into good luck magic. You can actually magically manifest and create magic, and it does take a lot of effort. They do say that one good luck spell isn't going to last forever, so just remember that. So if you're the type of practitioner that likes to do spells like on particular days because it's supposed to work better, there are better days to do good luck spells. So it said it's good to do in days and hours of the sun, the planet Mercury, Jupiter, and the moon. And holidays that would be good to do it on would be like around the New Year, during spring and spring holidays like Imbolc, Ostara, which we just had, and Beltane. I myself never plan my magic around the universe. I'm just like, I'm free and I've got the energy. Let's do this.
Love it.
So I don't really do that, but you can totally do that. I imagine that will amplify your magic. And one thing I found interesting is that I always associate green when I think of good luck, but actually red candles are really good for good luck magic. And so we all have probably heard of like the Wheel of Fortune, and this is supposed to be a really sacred symbol of Lady Luck. So she's an Etruscan deity Fortuna, and this wheel is said to be in our lives spinning constantly. And kind of like hamsters, most people are struggling and running in that wheel just to keep up with it. But they say that by using good luck magic, you can catch, acquire, maintain, and even preserve your luck and kind of be the master of your wheel. So Lady Fortuna, her emblem is the cornucopia. So that's one of her like symbols, as well as a ship's rudder, because she is known as being the captain of her own ship. She determines what route your luck is going to take, if your boat ride basically is going to be smooth or if it's going to be rough. And Lady Luck is actually known for her generosity. So if you just ask her for her assistance, she'll try to give that to you. In Italy, Fortuna, the goddess, is actually a really prominent deity, and they have a lot of shrines there dedicated to her and temples, which just sounded really cool. And you can incorporate her in your magic or your altar. You can use like dice, lucky like kind of charms, roses, and even like perfumes to symbolize her and kind of invoke her. She likes those kind of things. And a good like little good luck spell that you can do is just make a wish list, like a quick little list, place that paper underneath a gold candle for like a night, and then after that you would burn it. And I thought that would be like a really easy way just to manifest things, is make that little list. So you just want to like build up those intentions and then release them into the universe, like with a lot of candle magic.
Ooh, I'm totally going to do that tonight.
Yeah. And another thing that I came across in my research is that babies are naturally blessed, usually with good luck, by fairies that they're said to come and like bestow their gifts during the night. And that made me think of like Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
So I guess that is just like a really old kind of like folklore thing. Mm-hmm. But as adults, you could use magic using gods to give you good luck instead of fairies. So a good god to use would be Morgana Le Fay. Sometimes she takes on the role of spirit of good fortune, and in some legends she actually dwells at the bottom of a lake, and she'll dispense good fortune to those whom she favors. And you can really gain her favor by creating a shrine for her, using images of lakes, maybe bowls of fresh water or even salted water. And even by decorating your shrine with things like hand drums, seashells, pebbles from the sea, and fairy and or mermaid images, because Morgan kind of claims membership in both those spiritual clubs of fairies and mermaids. And that'll just kind of create an aura that attracts her to your space and pleases her, where you can kind of start working with her and request like assistance and good luck in your daily life. And when I was reading that, I kind of was like, I already have a lot of those elements on my altar right now. I have a mermaid, I've got little water containers and things like that. And I was like, oh, maybe I should start working with Morgana Le Fay and bring some luck into my life.
Nice.
And another thing you can do is just use the spells to maybe break bad luck that you're experiencing. A quick spell I learned was that if you carve your affirmations and your desires on a white candle, you would then dress it with olive oil And then you could roll it in ground red pepper. So you can just really use some kitchen witchery here. If you need to substitute the oils or the pepper, that would be fine. And then you would just light your candle, and then you place it securely on the floor, so like in a sturdy little candle holder, and you actually would jump over the candle, which when I read that, it kind of brought back some memories, because I remember reading about jumping over candles like long ago when I first got into this stuff, like 8-9 years ago.
Isn't there a nursery rhyme with that?
Yeah.
Jack jumped over the candlestick. Yeah.
And so it is like a really old, again, folklore kind of thing. And I've jumped over candles in my room before when I was like closeted witch and I had roommates, and they'd be like, what is all that noise going on in over there? Like, nothing! Don't come in here! Like, just jumping over some candles. So I've definitely done that. You can also use like Buddha. He's actually really associated with good luck. The type of Buddha that's usually like the green one, and he's got his arms outstretched above him and his little belly's out and he's just laughing. Those are really good to use for even money spells. I found one that was mentioning like writing the number of money, like the amount of money you need, and like folding it and then just putting it under his little statue and rubbing his belly for good luck. And of course, we all know horseshoes are kind of associated with luck. So if you want to use those just above your doorways in your house, or maybe, you know, in your backyard, they're really good luck as well if they have 7 little pinholes in the sides. I've never actually took the time to count, so I don't know if that is a rare thing or if that's kind of most horseshoes.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I think that if you look into it deeply, you can find and or make your own spells. There's a lot of deities you can work with to invoke luck, but don't be afraid to try to like get rid of your bad luck or gain some good luck. I think that's another thing too, is sometimes people feel guilty in asking for things through magic, but I think it's okay to work with like luck gods and just try to gain their favor and assistance, because they do want you to succeed and life wants you to succeed. The universe does. So just don't be afraid to ask for it.
I love that. You know, the more that I learn about magic, and I know this is going to sound off the wall, but since I'm kind of weird, it won't sound that bad.
Right.
But,
we talk about a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel like a lot of the gods and goddesses are really just what we consider to be aliens. So we're really calling upon them. And I'm just like, yes, come to me, my alien friends.
I'm just okay with gods as like being these weird unknown things. To try to say that they're aliens kind of scares me, because I have a lot of weird associations with like, I think X-Files and Fire in the Sky.
Gotcha.
And I'm just like, aliens are gonna come and experiment on me.
Yeah, I'm not really actually behind that whole theory about aliens yet. I've just never seen that dark side. I mean, I've seen it on TV, but I've never taken that to be reality.
Yeah, of course. So you're more comfortable with them and seeing them as like lighter beings.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting way to look at it. So I love that there's a lot of different ways to look at gods and goddesses, I think, for each individual.
Yes.
Like religion, spirituality, and especially your gods. I think it's completely 100% personal for each individual.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
might just be my brain's way of like, okay, I can accept it if it's this, but it's just immediately when I hear God, I think of God, like the Christian God. Who is this? I'm not going to get into it. Never mind. but never mind. But anyways, yeah. So it's just easier for me to think that they're aliens.
You should totally join that like alien church that like meets up and they try to channel all of their energy into this weird little box. And then I remember watching a Vice video on it, and I want to say we talked about it in podcasts before, but there are like alien churches and stuff like that.
I guess I didn't realize that, but now I'm totally going to look it up.
Yeah. There's like a whole Vice, I think it is, YouTube video about the organization. And they just believe that they stand in these circles like around Stonehenge and things like that, and ley lines, and they're just trying to channel all the positivity they can to channel those beings.
I love it.
And I kind of do believe that you can do that after seeing like that documentary Unacknowledged in the Stephen Greer, I think his name.
Yeah,
and
Stephen Greer.
Yeah, and how he basically says you can channel the UFOs to come to you and appear.
Right.
So I would be down to try that.
Totally. I'm going to do it this summer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are there any places that do that, like group events in Oregon that you could go to, or you just have to do it solo?
I don't know. I'll have to research into it. I never thought about, I'm so reclusive kind of in a way that I've never thought about reaching out to other like-minded people. So,
right.
But I can definitely check it out. I know in May, I think it is, there's a UFO festival in McMinnville that I'm going to go to. I've kind of roped my kids into going with me, and then once I go, I'll talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've gone to like really small alien things here in town. Mm-hmm. It's like a free event, and it's mainly just like art and vendors. Mm-hmm. But I've never gone to like an alien event where they're trying to like call down UFOs. I don't know if that's something that you do here in town. Because it is such a big city, I don't think we could see anything. Yeah,
you'd want to go out into the middle of nowhere, which there are places like that in Texas, like, but you'd have to probably hike out there.
Yeah, I know there's some places in California, too, that they say there's activity all the time, and if you go out to this, like, area, you can call them, and you just got to go out there and find these places. Right. I think there's one in New Mexico at White Sands Base, and then there's one... The one in California I thought was Joshua Tree. Oh, yes. Good job. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, just open area that's almost like a desert. So I feel like here in Oregon we could do it if there's something like out in the desert part, like in eastern Oregon. I bet there's probably something out in Redmond or Sisters or something. Let's look into it. I love it. Yeah, same. Alrighty. All right. Oh, go ahead. We're on the same wavelength. Same page. So let's dive into leprechauns. Yes. That was our main topic today. Yes. So today we're discussing leprechauns, these little wee folk. Leprechaun legends have been around in Ireland for at least 1,000 years. I did read some that went back even farther than that, but they stem from the Celtic belief in the underworld, a mythical place where magic powers can be used for good or evil. These little dudes are supposedly fairies from a specific tribe called the Seath, but it's spelled Aossi. I don't know how much everybody knows about the language of Ireland, but it's spelled one way and pronounced a different way. How confusing. Right? I really didn't know that leprechauns were fairies. I just thought that all fairies had to be really small with wings, so it seems like there's a really broad type of fairies out there. Right. It made me kind of look into this tribe. Like I kind of looked into this little tribe of the Seath, and I noticed that there were some that flew like little fairies, but there were leprechauns. There were these other ones. Then there were these tall Nordic almost looking ones. But they're all part of the same tribe. And it's said that these fairies either live underground or come from a parallel universe called Labor Gabala Eren. In that universe, the leprechauns live among everyday people, kind of like in fairy tales. Nice. So, yeah. I'm just really impressed with your pronunciation skills right now. Thanks. Whoa. These little leprechauns are considered to be a mixture of good and evil. Irish legends say their gold was amassed long ago in war times, and they keep it at the elusive end of the rainbow. So I just wanted to tell you that one time in my life, I've been to the end of the rainbow. And what? I thought that wasn't a real thing. It is. So it was really weird. We had this really huge rainstorm. This probably happened when I was 17, maybe 18. We had this really big rainstorm, and then I just happened to be peeking out the dining room window, and I saw this huge rainbow, and I noticed it was in the field behind our house. So I immediately dropped whatever I was doing and ran outside, and I went to it, and my sister came with me, and we went out there, and I felt it. Like it was warm when I put my hand under it. I was like, let's go look for gold. But we went out there, we were looking around and didn't see anything, but I definitely felt like it was warm and almost kind of like wet, like... Yeah, misty? Yeah, misty. Okay, I didn't know that you could actually do that. I thought that it was just some sort of like light illusion that didn't actually like arc down like a perfect little all the way to the ground. That's crazy.
I've never seen anything like it again. It was just one time this happened. So
that kind of makes sense because I remember like if you play in a sprinkler and it catches the water.
Yeah.
That's crazy though. And no gold?
No gold.
Damn.
No gold. Just this cool memory of a rainbow though.
That's probably when you crossed over to another universe, you and your
Probably.
sister.
Yeah, we're just like, okay, jumping through. Woo!
Yeah, woo!
Going to live with leprechauns now.
Yeah. This is like a repressed thing we need to
dig
out of you.
Dive deep. Okay, so some legends say if you catch a leprechaun, they are supposed to grant you 3 wishes. Although most people don't usually, catch a leprechaun.
Yeah, like genies, I guess.
Right. In America, we always see leprechauns wearing green. However, these 3-foot-tall fairies typically wore red jackets and green pants. So I found out that the ones in green are said to be trooping fairies. They came from the same tribe of fairies. But those ones in the green jackets are extremely sinister and tricky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're conveniently color coding themselves based on how much of an asshole they are.
Right.
If only people could do that.
I know. You're like, oh gosh, it's the dude. It's the dude in purple again. Oh. Also, leprechauns are said to be great at distilling, having been given the secret of whiskey making by the legendary Tuatha, which Tuatha comes from the same fairy tribe, but they're much taller and they have these red beards and they wear these cool like horn things on their heads.
What?
I know. Some say the leprechaun's tendency to overindulge in the homebrew is what makes them so belligerent and unpredictable and turns even the friendliest leprechaun into an evil leprechaun. Yeah. So my favorite part about the lore of these pint-sized fairies is their love for shoes. It's said that they love to dance, and in order to dance, you must have a good shoe. Hence the reason why they were considered to be cobblers. They love to fix shoes, and they appreciate them, and I feel the same way.
That is so cute. It's
right?
Because they like to dance a jig.
Yeah, so they want everybody else to have the ability to dance as well. So that's why sometimes you'll hear the stories of them going in, fixing up people's shoes while they're asleep and then leaving them there because they want to see them dancing and having a merry time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. In the book, The Element Encyclopedia of Magical Creatures, John and Caitlin Matthews, they trace leprechaun legends back to 8th century legends of water spirits called Luckerpawn, meaning small body.
Oh, nice.
The earliest known reference to the leprechaun appears in the medieval tale known as the Ectra Fergus Mac Leití, which translates to Adventure of Fergus, son of Leití. Fergus Mac Leití is the king of Ulster, and he ends up falling asleep on the beach and wakes being dragged into the sea by 3 Luckerpawn. He captures his abductors who grant him 3 wishes in exchange for release.
So I guess that's where the wish granting.
The wish granting, yes.
Yeah.
These sprites eventually merged with a mischievous household fairy said to haunt cellars and drink heavily. They're just sitting around drinking.
I like that they're like water spirits too. Like that's kind of interesting. I wouldn't ever connect leprechauns to water.
But I guess it makes sense if they are constantly on a rainbow.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That does make sense.
Right? Other researchers say that the word leprechaun may be derived from the Irish word leith brogan, meaning shoemaker. Leprechauns are often depicted as cobblers or shoemakers. Shoemaking is apparently a lucrative business in the fairy world, since each leprechaun is said to have his own pot of gold, which can often be found at the end of the rainbow. They were originally known for being dressed in red, who wore tri-cornered hats, and the leprechaun plays several roles in Irish folklore. He's principally a roguish trickster figure who cannot be trusted and will deceive whenever possible. In one old tale, a man who managed to get a leprechaun and shakes him down to show him where his treasure was located. And he points to a tree, and the man, having no shovel, he marked the tree with one of his red garters, and then kindly released the sprite and went home and picked up a shovel. Returning almost instantly, he found that every one of the numerous trees in the field had a red garter. Those little tricky dudes.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, you thought you knew which one. Now you'll never know.
You'll never know. So in the magical world, most sprites, fairies, and other creatures have a distinctive sound that is associated with them. In the case of the leprechaun, it's the tap, tap, tapping of his tiny cobbler hammer, driving nails into shoes that announces they are near. So I also heard that people sometimes will hear that noise and then a leprechaun just appears.
That's really cool.
Yeah. The 1825 publication of a book called Fairy Legends seemingly cemented the character of the modern leprechaun. Since that time, leprechauns seem to be entirely male and solitary, they note. There's no record of any female leprechauns existing. This, of course, means that leprechauns defy typical laws of biology by surviving, and there is no evidence which tells the story of how they breed. The aforementioned book says that leprechauns are actually deformed children of the fairies. So when I kind of researched this a little bit more, I actually found out that there are women leprechauns, but we don't actually see them very often, which these women probably live in that parallel universe or never come to the top ground. Okay. So they either live underground or they're in that parallel universe. But there are women leprechauns, and some people say that they've actually seen them.
Okay, so they show up in stories and in sightings?
Yes.
What do they do? I wonder if they're just staying home, forced to do laundry all day?
I think that they're not really allowed to be here. And I don't know why that is, which makes me not like the leprechaun as a male species.
I love how you make this sound like it's factual.
Yeah. I mean, I have to. I mean, I don't know if I believe in leprechauns, but if I'm going to do this on the podcast, I have to pretend that they're real. You know what I mean? My job here is to make everybody believe.
Yeah. So the male species of leprechauns, we're going to say they don't sound that great. Unless women love being home all day and they make the leprechauns do the work.
Maybe they just, if they are in a parallel universe, maybe there's no reason for them to come here because they like their own universe so much. Maybe they think it's petty for them to come here.
Yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so for generations, some Irish have been annoyed by leprechauns and the ethnic stereotypes they perpetuate. And for most Americans, leprechauns only appear around St. Patrick's Day. Leprechauns offer a morality tale figure whose fables warn against the folly of trying to get rich quick, take what's not rightfully yours, or interfere with the good folk and other magical creatures. Belief in leprechauns and other fairies was once spread on the Emerald Isle. I also think that one of the things that they warn against here in America is heavily drinking.
Oh, yeah. I never thought about that.
As a precursor to be like, okay, if you're going to drink a lot, just take this tale of the little leprechaun.
Yeah. I find it really, really cool that they did believe in them in the Emerald Isle and things like that. Like, it seems like they had some sort of fear and respect of little wee ones.
Right. So though the legend of the leprechaun is well over 1,000 years old, there was a sighting as recently as 1989 by a pub landlord called P.J. O'Hare in Carlingford County, Louth. O'Hare claims that he heard screams from a well and found the remains and clothing of a leprechaun, which is on display in his pub. The town now has an annual leprechaun hunt, though the object of the game is to find plastic versions of the fabled creature. This kind of reminds me of, there's this thing that we used to do when I was a kid. Every year in grade school, somebody would take like finger paint and make these tiny little green footprints. And wherever the footprints ended, there may be like something representing the leprechaun, and then there'd be these chocolate gold coins that we would find.
Oh, that's our cute game.
Right?
It almost sounds like Blue's Clues.
Right? But for chocolate.
Yeah. Better.
Yeah. Leprechauns are actually a protected species under European Union law. Carlingford's Sliab Foy Loop Trail is officially protected land for the 236 leprechauns that apparently live in Ireland. A local lobbyist group, which contains Kevin Woods, a native of Carlingford, managed to convince the EU that the area should be protected, and it now is under the European Habitats Directive. I looked into this a little bit further too, and I thought it was pretty interesting. They must know something that is there that they don't want anybody really to know about.
Yeah, like I legit have heard that walking on certain paths you're not even allowed to.
Right.
Or don't walk off the path because you're going to piss off the fairies. And they
Right.
take it seriously.
It made me think, what if there's like, if it is a different universe that they come from, maybe there's a rip in time there that you can just jump through and go to their world.
That would make sense because there's reports of like missing children or babies, and like a lot of fairies particularly will take the kids into these other
Right.
universes.
Right.
I should have looked into this more because I think there are time slips where kids had missing time and it felt like they were gone for a long time, but in reality they weren't, or vice versa kind of thing.
Right.
And like they weren't gone for a long time, but they came back and they were older or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I read similar stories as well.
Yeah, I should have like cited some, but
Yeah, me too. I totally didn't write that down. I wasn't even thinking about it for some reason. The thought of somebody stealing a baby is just sad to me. I was like, don't steal the babies.
It's like the Goblin King Labyrinth.
Right.
Got to be careful with them tricksters.
That's right. Leprechauns have been seen all over the world, even here, right in Oregon. A small patch of carefully landscaped land sits in the middle of a road in Portland. It's a park dedicated to leprechauns. Local legend says that a reporter wrote a series of columns about the country's only leprechaun colony in 1947. The reporter, Dick Fagan, spotted one of the leprechauns digging a hole in the spot outside his window and captured it. He used his wish to get a park of his own, but the leprechaun tricked him and gave him the hole in the ground instead. The 2-foot-long patch of ground became an official city park in 1976 and serves as the epicenter of the town's St. Patrick's Day festivals along the Willamette River in downtown Portland. The park is a small circle, 2 feet across, with a total area of 452 square feet. It's the smallest park in the world, according to the Guinness Book of Records, which first granted it this recognition in 1971. I've been there once.
Oh, really? You've seen it?
Yeah, it's really cute. And they try to keep the grass really green.
Yeah, I had to look up pictures online when I heard about it, and it is super freaking tiny and whimsical.
Yeah, super cute.
Yay for Portland for being weird.
That's right. And, you know, they have that place, Voodoo Donuts, up there. I think they do cool St. Patrick's Day donuts, special donuts that they do that day, too.
Yes, the coveted Voodoo Donut. I've never been. A lot of times when I'm flying in and out of Portland, I'll see people with their boxes just full of donuts because it's supposed to be oh so good.
It's good. I mean, I don't know. I've had it a couple of times, and it's just because I'm so money conscious that it's really hard for me to be like, okay, I'm going to pay extra for these donuts because they taste like 50 times better. But
yeah, and you would have to go really out of your way and wait in line sometimes on the block, it seems.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I don't have time to be a hipster for my donut.
Yeah, even at midnight, that place is swarming with people.
Well, good for them, though.
Yeah.
Good for them. I remember watching Anthony Bourdain go there, and he ordered a maple bar, which is my favorite type of donut. But then they added a twist. They were adding bacon on top.
I've had that one. It's good.
Damn it. I can't even eat it anymore now that they've given up that kind of meat.
Yeah.
Damn it. It's making me very hungry. So I'm going to move on.
Yes.
Yeah, we wanted to incorporate a little bit of St. Paddy's lore and origins of like the whole holiday, since we're talking about good luck, leprechauns right here in March. And St. Paddy's Day is my birthday, so I feel like I should know more about it.
Yes.
And looking into it, it's actually the death day of St. Patrick. And it was made into a day of like feasting and celebrating just kind of the arrival of Christianity, basically Christianization, I guess you could say, in Ireland, taking over like the pagan religion at the time, which kind of bummed me out. And St. Patrick, he was a 5th century Roman British Christian missionary and a bishop in Ireland. So much of what is known about St. Patrick comes from the Declaration, which was actually written by Patrick himself. So it says that he returned to Ireland to convert basically the pagan Irish to Christianity. And the Declaration book says that he spent many years evangelizing in the northern half of Ireland and converted thousands. And Patrick's effort against the Druids were eventually turned into an allegory in which he drove snakes out of Ireland, which kind of enraged me when I read it. It just bums me out that we're trying to get rid of the Druids. They sound like the coolest community ever.
Right.
Of people like just connecting with the goddesses and Mother Earth and all their wonderful like spiral artwork. I'm like, why would you call them snakes? But basically there were a lot of rules, I guess, as Christians when you couldn't drink and things like that. So St. Patrick's Day became a day where that was lifted. And so you would celebrate by eating and drinking heavily. And I guess that's where it kind of comes into play nowadays, where we're all just going crazy drinking. And a lot of people recently have kind of criticized St. Patrick's Day celebrations for having become too commercialized and for fostering negative stereotypes for the Irish people, because I really didn't know anything about St. Patrick growing up. I literally just knew wear green, don't get pinched, shamrocks and little people. You know what I mean? Right. So I didn't even know it was a Christian thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a Christian thing. Actually, I also know that if you oppose St. Patrick's Day, you're supposed to wear the color orange. So
that's weird.
I guess Protestants who didn't agree with the Roman Catholic Christianity and all of that kind of stuff in protest, they would wear orange to show that they were not supporters.
Oh. It's interesting.
And so they wave an orange flag instead of the green Irish flag. They'd put orange stripes instead of the green.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Mm-hmm. I don't really wear orange.
No, I don't either. But I may try that out just so that I can say that I'm in protest. But I don't know.
I know. I mean, like, at this day and age, it's evolved to kind of beyond that here in the States. I'm not really sure what it's like back in Ireland or anything like that.
Yeah, I hear it's all about green beer and getting all fun.
Yeah, and just being stupid. Like, I don't like to go downtown on my birthdays anymore or go out because people are drinking and acting crazy.
Right.
Well, in connection with St. Patrick's Day, I found out that Patrick would use the clover symbolism to represent the Christian Holy Trinity. Mm-hmm. So the Holy Trinity was supposed to be like, what is it? The Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Right. And all the Druids and the pagans at the time, they had their own goddess trilogies or like trinities a lot of times. There was a lot of trinities. I tried looking into be like, oh, well, what specific goddess did they pray to? There was a lot, to be quite honest with you. But anytime that you can kind of like mash Christianity with the pagan holidays, they do it because it's easier to slowly transition people over into something else if they still have their happy fun times. Like Ostara that we just celebrated is basically Easter. Pagans would use rabbits because they're like a symbol of like fertility and things like that, and eggs. And so how we got like the Easter bunny is all just because we're borrowing more things from like the old pagan religions that they're just trying to convert over. Yeah. And so I was kind of bummed out that like the 4-leaf clover is just another little thing to try to break over, pagans into Christianity.
That's lame.
But there's this other thing I found out that they do nowadays. It's called the drowning of the shamrock. Okay. And you would put a shamrock, I guess, you would wear it around on your coat, on your hat, and at the end of the day when you go to the pub, you're going to remove it and put it in your final glass of grog or like beer, whatever you're having. And when you've drunk down the whole thing, you would like do a toast to honor like St. Patrick's and the day, and then the shamrock should be picked out of the bottom of the glass and thrown over the left shoulder for like good luck and health. So there's like little ways that they incorporate it supposedly in some drinking rituals. I kind of doubt people are really doing it. But maybe back in the day that was something they did. Right. What else did you find out about like little symbolisms of St. Paddy's?
So I found a couple of things. One, Sean, actually, my husband, he suggested this one. He was like, you got to talk about the Blarney Stone. And so I was like, what the heck is the Blarney Stone? Yeah, I mean, I've heard it like once, but apparently you're supposed to kiss the Blarney Stone for good luck. And so after some research, I found that the Blarney Stone sits in a stone wall outside Blarney Castle, and legend said it is supposedly made from the same stones used at Stonehenge. And the Blarney Stone is made from limestone, so it could be possible because that's the same thing that Stonehenge is. But it said that if you kiss the stone, it can imbue on you the ability to communicate in a more eloquent fashion.
Oh my God, I Googled it. Did you see how people are kissing it?
No,
Okay, so it's like at the top of this castle, so there's no floor underneath.
I didn't know that.
Where it's at, and so it's kind of like a castle wall, like you would look over and see like invaders coming kind of a wall. And so there's no floor right underneath the Blarney Stone. They have these like pipes so you won't fall through. And for some reason, everyone who's kissing it is on their backs, holding onto two pipes, arching their neck and back all the way back to the wall, kissing it upside down in the most uncomfortable looking fashion while someone holds them to make sure they don't like fall down to their death.
Oh my gosh.
It looks so silly.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
You'll have to look up the pictures. I'm like, okay, what's the rule about having to be on your back like this?
Right? Oh my gosh.
But that is funny. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would kiss it looking at all these tourists just putting their mouth on it and waiting in line.
There's probably a bunch of germs. Gross.
Yeah.
Gross.
No, thank you.
Okay, so then I did some research into the rainbow and why we think there is a pot of gold at the end of it. In America, we say it's always at the end of the rainbow, but the legends say it's buried. So I thought this showed as like that we as Americans are really lazy because we're just like, no, it's at a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
That's what
it just sits up above the ground. Well, no, the legend states that at the end of the rainbow, it will be buried under the ground.
That makes more sense. And yeah, of course.
Yeah, that it's kept in these little black pots and it's buried. This gold, like I had said earlier, was stuff that they've been collecting throughout their whole lives during different war times and such. But the legend of the gold at the end of the rainbow started at a time when people didn't really have that much money. And this part of the lore is said to have been made up in order to boost morale at a time that it was needed. So I have a theory that maybe this is one of the ways that they travel between the planes of existence. Like I was saying before, after I touched that warm spot, maybe that's just how they go in between worlds.
Ah, you were in a portal.
Yeah, maybe. And then I kind of did some reading about the shillelagh.
Okay, what's that?
So a shillelagh is like, do a little Google search for it. It's kind of this wooden walking stick looking thing, or kind of like a club. It has this club on top. So I'll tell you how to spell it. It's Shillelagh. So a shillelagh, usually in leprechaun lore, the little leprechauns are using these as their walking sticks or staffs. But apparently they used to use these to battle. So they would use them as a sword almost, or to hit people. Isn't that kind of funny? Like, just see this little dude bonking somebody on the head with their mallet.
I'm looking at it now. It almost looks like a really scary sex toy.
I totally remember there was this episode on Charmed, like the old Charmed, not the new one, where when the leprechauns would come, they would use these shillelaghs. They'd slam it onto the ground, and then that would make a rainbow appear, and then they would transport themselves into their world.
I kind of remember the leprechauns being assholes in that show, right?
They were, yeah. Which is how I imagine that they are. Like, they could be
Tricksters.
The nicest little dude or the meanest little dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Little connivers.
Yeah. Good times.
Definitely. Well, that's pretty fun. We learned more about, I feel like, Good Luck Magick, Leprechaun, St.Paddy's's Day.
Yes.
What about, like, leprechauns in pop culture? What do you got? What do you like?
I just kind of touched on it a little bit, but my favorite really are those ones from Charmed.
Oh,
They're
really?
Just super cute. Yeah. There's something about them. And maybe it's because I love that show so much.
Yeah. Did you ever
really like
see
them.
that old Disney movie? I think it's like Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Yes, yeah.
I've never actually seen it. I just remember seeing ads for it, and I kind of want to watch it because that had, like, that
should.
was full of, like, little people.
Yeah, you should. But they were like little people. They weren't like leprechauns.
No, like little fairies
Yeah.
almost.
They were like little fairies, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if there was anything accurate about that movie or if the whole thing is, like,
know.
cultural appropriation abomination.
The whole time that I was researching leprechauns, I was thinking, dude, these guys are like the elves that work for Santa.
Exactly. That's kind of what it
Yeah.
sounded like when you were saying how they had some sort of gold from a war. I remember, like, researching Santa's elves, and they had gone through all this weird stuff and were profiting. I was like, oh, kind of mixes.
Yeah. So maybe they're related in some way. Who knows?
It does seem like fairies and elves are, yeah, you're right, a little connected.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that Leprechaun horror flick?
I watched the first one. I know there's like, what, 3, 4 out?
I
I've only
think it
seen
goes
the
up to
first
like
one.
5 when it's
Oh
like
my
Leprechaun
gosh.
in the hood or in the hood or something. And he actually has like a rap where he's
Oh
rapping.
my
Like
gosh.
Warwick Davis is something like, he's like, we're in the hood, Leprechaun, yeah. And it's just like really ridiculous.
I remember seeing the first one years and years ago. And then I remember watching Friends and seeing Jennifer Aniston. And if somebody was saying she was in Leprechaun, I was like, no way. And so I had to rewatch Leprechaun. And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, Jennifer Aniston's in here.
That's like her first role, I believe.
Yeah, it
Which
was.
is pretty funny.
It is. Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. Shoot.
Now look at her. She's made so much money.
Right? She should be in a sequel. Get
She
another one.
should. Where she just kills the leprechaun or something.
Oh yeah, man. I don't think I've seen enough leprechauns, honestly, in pop culture. Like, I can't think of really any other movies that I've seen them in.
I'm sure there's got to be a cartoon. I just cannot remember.
Right?
Yeah. I can't seem to remember.
I can only remember David the Gnome.
Right, David the Gnome. I do remember that one. And the Littles, but they were mice.
Oh, Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms, of course, but that's kind of a given.
Yeah. He just wants you to eat.
Yeah. It's like, eat my Lucky Charms.
That is probably my favorite cereal.
It's pretty good.
Not gonna
I'm
lie.
boring. I like cornflakes.
You should be sad, yeah. No, there's no marshmallows. There's nothing.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm boring. I wasn't allowed to eat sugary cereals when I was growing up.
I was exclusively allowed to eat sugary cereals.
I know. Every time I went to your house, I was like, dang,
Yeah.
I need these. I remember, like, every time I go to Grandma's house, she'd let me get whatever cereal I wanted. And then I get to take the box home. My mom and dad were always like, why'd you buy this for her? We really don't want her to have it. And then I would just eat it every single day while my dad was eating grape nuts. And I'm like, I'm eating this yummy chocolatey cereal right now. Bet you wish you had this.
Right? I'm glad that my family, or not my family, but Grandma, she can infect your house with sugar.
Yes.
And mine while you're there, too.
I love it.
There's apparently a National Leprechaun Museum in Dublin City, which would be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
I know if we ever get to make it over to Europe, or I should say when we get to make it over to Europe, we've got like a list of like 100 places that we want to go to.
Yeah. There's going to be those annoying
great.
tourists looking for all the mystical stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's plan our Irish vacation.
Yes. Yeah. When I researched Sean's family, it was like, we're the McClure clan from Clan MacLeod. It was something like that. And I was like Highlander.
Right?
You guys are like Highlander.
That sounds
And Sean
cool.
was like, I told you.
It's like, I am immortal.
I'm like, okay, I've heard your knees when you walk up and down the stairs. You're not immortal.
I always had a lot of questions watching Highlander. Like, I could never just relax. I would always, like, turn to whoever I'd be watching with and be like, but why can there only be one? I'm like, what? It's like their whole philosophy, like, there can only be one. But they never really explain that. Apparently they explain it more in the TV show. Like, there's a reason. But I was just like, dude, go live your life and let this man live his life.
Right. I did watch the whole TV show series.
Did you get into it?
Yeah. totally into it for a long time.
It seemed like there were some really badass women characters.
There were. Yeah. There were.
Well,
All right.
should we wrap it up for today?
Let's wrap it up. I was just going to say that. We're like in sync.
We're in sync today. Well, I hope you guys all have a really good March. You know, get that good luck. Enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. Drive safely. Maybe wear green, maybe not.
And if you're rebellious, wear orange.
Wear orange. Yeah. And thanks for listening, guys. Make sure to join us next Wednesday for a look into the Order of the Golden Dawn. And as always, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget to check out our blog at cousinscoven.home.blog, where you can find witchy words of wisdom, spells, archive podcasts, and while you're there, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter. And our current podcast episodes are going to be over on Podomatic, Spotify, iTunes, and anywhere else podcasts can be found. And you can find some of our older episodes over on our WordPress account.
May you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and joy in each other. Blessings to all.